Global epidemic day. Corona. People dying every day. Corona. It be virus. Mania. Funny serious. Corona. Yeah, virus. Echewa. You go lost.
Purchase your track now.
Wash your hand daily with running water and don't stop. Keep away from non-farm meetings and do something, bro. Pray for your enemy, pray for your family, pray for your country, yeah. Don't forget to keep clean with hand sanitizer. Pause a minute for today. Wash your hand clean and pray. Global epidemic day. Corona. People dying every day. Corona. It be virus. Mania. Funny serious. Corona. Yeah, virus. Echewa. We go lost. China, Japan, man down. Italy, UK, man down. United States locked down. What now? Pause a minute for today. Wash your hand clean and pray. Global epidemic day. Corona. People dying every day. Corona. It be virus. Mania. Funny serious. Corona. Yeah, virus. Echewa. We go lost. Pause a minute for today. Wash your hand clean and pray. Global epidemic day. Corona. People dying every day. Corona. It be virus. Mania. Funny serious. Corona. Yeah, virus. Echewa. We go lost.
Welcome this evening to another edition of the Progressive Mind Show. My name is Sena, aka Alinko. You're welcome again. And this evening we want to talk about pandemic money, business, and taxes. A lot of times, everyone wants to do business. We talk about, do I have to work 9 to 5 all the time? There's sometimes that dilemma, whether to stay with the 9 to 5 or venture into something else. There's always that dilemma. When it comes to taxes, we have questions. This evening, we have great folks, great guests who are going to be helping with the conversation. They are experts in their field. They have their own organizations. They've been doing this for years, if not decades. And so we are blessed to have them. Again, this is the Progressive Mind Show, where we engage you and I in these type of conversations with the goal of bettering our community. So if you're watching us on Facebook, please help share the feed. We are on YouTube as well. We will take the Captain Mike segment. As usual, when we come back, this show continues. Again, I want to encourage our audience to please share the feed, as we intend to engage you all in this very, very important conversation. I know Captain Mike is here with us. My brother, I know last week was a difficult week for you personally, because of your organization, your company had a situation going, and maybe in a little bit you can just take a little bit. You can, after your session, you can just tell us about, just brief us on what was going on there. But this evening we are glad to be having you, Captain Mike. Great weather so far. Last week, this week, running up to this week, it's been looking good. So tell us what's going on, bro.
All right, right now you got about 45 degrees at Midway Airport. Winds are out of the north at 10 miles an hour. Going to have some clear skies tonight. Oh, going into the forecast for the rest of the week, You're gonna have a low tonight of about 32 degrees. North winds, it's kind of light and variable. Tomorrow, high of 37, low of 30. Gonna have northeast winds, and gonna keep that same kind of a weather pattern for Friday and Saturday. Gonna have winds out of the north, sunny skies. Gonna be a little gusty on Friday. Sunday, partly cloudy. Gonna start inching up in the temperature range, 54 degrees. And close to 60 on Monday, but it's gonna be really windy, and you have a slight chance of rain Monday night, getting later into the evening. Tuesday, pretty good chance of rain all day. Still decent temperatures, and Wednesday is going to be a decent day. Going to start out pretty cloudy, with some possibility of some showers and gusty south winds, but it's going to start clearing later in the day and up to 62 degrees. So we're getting into spring. It is spring again. So now we can look forward to some better weather, warmer weather.
Excellent.
If you're into that thing.
Sounds good.
Yeah. In the sports tonight, the Bulls are going to be in New Orleans taking on the Pelicans. In our soccer, our football, Burnley and Leicester with a 1-1 tie. Sheffield defeated Villa 1-0. And going into speaking about our health and fitness, we're going to talk about into warmer weather where some people do have some allergies. Well, what are allergies? An allergy is an immune system response to a foreign substance that's not typically harmful to the body. They're called allergens. They can include certain foods, pollen, or pet dander. Well, what are some of the things we can do to alleviate some of our allergic reactions this spring and into the summer? Well, if you're outdoors and you're allergic to a lot of the pollen and dander and such, make sure you throw your clothes in the clothes hamper, wash them, and take a shower. Get some of that dander and get some of that pollen off of you. Check the weather. Go to weather.com, which is part of the Weather Channel, to look where they're an allergy tracker, look where they're, or watch your local weather forecast or me and tell you where you're going to have some high pollen counts, if that's going to be part of your allergies. Minimize indoor pollen. Turn on the air conditioning, close your windows. Find an air filter. That'll really help alleviate some of those symptoms. And also, if you have really bad symptoms, consult your doctor or your healthcare professionals, and maybe they can give you some medicines or some sprays that'll help alleviate some of those symptoms. So, and with that, that concludes the health and fitness report.
Thank you. And I was going to say that you forgot to mention that the under 20 national team of Ghana qualified for the AFCON tournament that's currently going. But don't worry, I'll probably make that announcement myself. But anyway, so as I mentioned, your airline United had a situation last week. Can you just give us an update on what's going on with that?
Well, right now it's still being investigated by the NTSB, the FAA, and all related entities such as United Airlines, the manufacturer of the engine, Raytheon engines, and Boeing. Well, what we do know is there was an uncontained engine failure. It went. My roommate in college is a Boeing engineer, so he helped design some of these aircraft, and it functioned exactly how it's supposed to. The one of the fan blades separated from the engine, and it punctured some of the fuselage, but the fuselage is protected by Kevlar, so it didn't puncture any of the fuel tanks, and the aircraft flew fine on one engine exactly how it's supposed to. So everything went exactly as planned, and now that I'm one of the pilot instructors here at United, those pilots perform flawlessly exactly how we're trained. We're trained for engine failures, engine fires, or any type of malfunction that happens such as that. And they performed it exactly how they were taught to do. And brought the aircraft back to Denver. It was a Denver to Honolulu flight. So the 777-200 brought it right back to Denver, landed safely. There were no injuries.
Yeah.
And, as we get more into it involved with the NTSB and FAA, and everyone gives more details, I can give you more detail, but right now, those are the facts that we know as of now. And the specifics will come later.
Right. No, so thank you for sharing. But quickly before you go, I know we have to get into our discussion this evening, but this is also very important. You're a member of the team. This is your company. This is what you do. And so it's very important to us and, of course, our audience. Now, if do you think that it was, rephrase the question. how long can a plane fly on one engine? Because sometimes people will be like, for instance, I'm wondering, okay, so if it were going to, let's say, East Asia, or if the plane was going to Europe, or maybe it was embarking on an 8-hour journey and was halfway, and this happened, how long can a plane fly on one engine?
Well, actually, that's an excellent question, because those aircraft, all of our aircraft have two engines, and they're called ETOP certification, extended operations over water. So you can be in, actually, some flights are 13, 14, 15 hours. So you're in the middle of the Pacific. You can fly, we plan for it to lose an engine, have to descend to 10,000 feet, a loss of all pressurization, and still make it to an alternate destination safely. So that's all accounted for, and have extra fuel in case that alternate destination is somehow you can't land or you have to go somewhere else. So we plan for all those contingencies. So if you're flying over the Pacific, over the Atlantic, over the middle of nowhere, over the North Pole even, we have contingency plans for loss of an engine. That's something that the FAA certifies. They check our engines. They make sure that all of the components work. That situation would ever happen. So we train for that, and we go through that, and all of our aircraft have to be certified for that exact type of situation. So that's excellent question.
Thank you. Of course, it helps, flyer confidence. I don't know if there's a word like that, right? Regular flyers confident, or customer confident, whatever. But this really, really helps, because now maybe another time we can have you on the show so you can give us some details about why some planes drop. I mean, if you were saying that there's all these contingencies, we still do hear of. Last week, we heard a plane dropped in Nigeria. Was it last 2 weeks? So yeah, last 2 weeks, right, Anthony?
Yeah, I think it was about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I think there was about 149 people, if I'm not mistaken, at least 100 people that lost their lives on that flight, right? So another time you can explain to us why some planes drop, even though they have all the certifications
but keep in mind, still flying is the safest mode of transportation there is. You can fly every day of your life, and you have a better chance of slipping in the shower and dying from a fall or falling down the stairs than you do of flying on an aircraft. And trust me, I wouldn't be doing it. It's not just customers that are concerned. I'm also in that plane with you, so we make sure everything is going to work out the way we plan it.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much. We really appreciate it, Captain Mike. We're looking forward to hearing from you next week.
Definitely.
All right, my man. Enjoy the weather.
Hey, you too.
All right, take care. All right, so that was my brother, Captain Mike. We are back on the bill this evening. We have Anthony AMPONSAH. He is one of the great gentlemen in this community. He's been doing what we are going to be doing this evening already. He's been teaching the community, educating them on how we can invest our finances, how we can manage our finances. He is with the Freeport Financial Group. Anthony, you're welcome to the Progressive Mind Show once again. Of course, this is not your first time, so thank you for coming, for taking the call last minute, and for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, my brother. And on the bill this evening as well is Wilson ATIABET. Is it ATIABET, my brother? ATIABET, great. Wilson ATIABET he holds MBA. He's also a CPA. He's also the owner of Wilson and Associates. He specializes in taxes, financial services, a whole bunch. I really was impressed when I went to his office and saw the organization, the company that he has built for himself. He's been doing this for years as well. We'll give him the chance to tell us a little bit more about himself. But Wilson ATIABET, you're welcome to the Progressive Mind Show.
Thanks for having me, brother. Yeah, so there's no need for any more introduction. Even though your name was badly pronounced, it's Wilson. It's okay. I can live with that.
Okay,
so
great.
I'm a CPA based in Chicago. Been doing this for a long time. I think this is the third time I'm revisiting your show.
Yeah.
So this is not new to the show. It's been a long while since I got back, because of other issues. So I wasn't able to return to the show, but now I'm kind of free to have any kind of conversation that you might want to have. I know you and I have talked about a couple of things in the past, that our community members need to be aware of. Unfortunately, the lack of information is making a lot of us to lag behind. So we'll be talking about all of those tonight. Wilson and Associates has been around for more than a decade. Single-handedly started this business after working for corporate America for a couple of years, and I really wanted to do something for my community, and that's the reason why I decided to take up the task of starting this company. So it's really not just about making money, but it's all about empowering my people. So we're going to talk about most of that tonight.
All right.
Thanks for having me once more on the show.
Thank you so much, my brother. And Anthony, that's as you said, we've been doing this. You're not a stranger on the show. Please go ahead and let the audience know a little bit more about you, your organization, and whatnot.
Yes, thank you so much, Alinko, for hosting us this evening. And my background is in finance. I actually have background in finance, real estate, and also in the logistics space. I am right now the senior broker and also the president of Freeport Financial Group, which is really a cutting-edge financial services company. And what we really specialize in helping people leverage your capital in the financial markets in order to grow it much faster. And so we can basically scale at all levels. We have a niche where we focus on the unbanked. These are people that don't really have access to the traditional financial markets, or they really don't even know where to start, right? And then we can scale all the way high to very sophisticated investors also.
Okay. Well, thank you for helping us understand a little bit more about what you do, and this is very, very interesting because I'm sure folks who are listening would like to ask questions, especially in these times when money is coming in, and a lot of people are wondering how we can all get access to this. Now, before the show continues, just wanted to take care of a few things. We have carved for ourselves a new tradition, and so we wanted to continue with it. So today's verse of the day is Proverbs 28:19. It says, "Whoever works his land will have plenty of bread, but he who follows worthless pursuits will have plenty of poverty." And that will be our word of the day. Now,
great word.
Thank you so much. Also wanted to say a big happy birthday to my brother, Black Jesus. Did not even know. I saw it on social media today, and I recall that last year around this time he was celebrating it. And so, brother Black Jesus, wherever you are, we want on behalf of the Progressive Minds team, we want to wish you a big happy birthday. We say that live to belong, live to fulfill all your dreams. We wish you happiness, prosperity, and above all, long life and good health. So that's from Alinko. That's from Alinko to Black Jesus, my brother. And I'm sure Anthony and Wilson, sends their warm regards to you as well. Wonderful.
Right.
Great. Excellent, guys. Let's talk about what we set out to talk to do this evening. The pandemic money conversation is boiled around business and taxes. I think at the end of the day, that's what it comes to, because you might get your stimulus check, and what would be the use if, you might get your stimulus check, but I think that sometimes when we get some of these monies, it would be nice to have an idea of whether to invest them or to put them somewhere, put them in our savings. But if you put them in your savings, how much are you yielding from that? So how do we utilize some of this monies that are coming in now, more so the stimulus check and all of that? But it all goes down to how we handle our finances and, of course, our taxes. So I'll start with you, Wilson. How long have you been in this tax business? Not just taxes, but businesses. If you can specifically tell us that.
That's a very interesting question, man. I think I started doing business from birth.
Okay.
I'm a man. I grew up in a family where, my grandma was a business lady, started businesses from scratch, and I grew up with her and I learned so much. She's my inspirator. She's my, I learned a lot from my grandma. So business has been something that has been in my DNA from birth.
Mm.
So growing up, I always knew I was gonna do business, but I really didn't know the type of business I was gonna do. Because the type of business my grandma did wasn't the type of business I'm doing today. She basically was a retailer, what they normally call back home. So buy and sell. My grandma would trade on anything. Okay, and he led me to learn so many things about business. So most of my skills come from my humble beginnings. Okay, then
Okay.
I went to business school, and that just blew it for me.
Right. So,
Business for me.
good. In your experience, having been doing business for a long time, but specifically doing organizing people's businesses for them, structuring it, and filing taxes. How long would you say that has gone on for, especially in the diaspora?
In the US, I've been doing taxes for almost over 10 years.
Okay.
Um, yeah, about 12 years.
Over 12 years. Okay. So you've been now can you tell us your main experiences? I'll say like your observation when it comes to doing business within the African community. How have you perceived us handling our business?
It's kind of a very tough call because the Africans, the problem with the African community in the diaspora is that first of all there's a problem of integration. Okay,
Mm.
now coming to the US, you have to understand it's a different environment, things are done differently. For example, in Africa we have what they call the cash society. So your money is king, right? He who has money in his pocket is king. In the US, we have what's called credit society. So now this you have to change your mindset when you migrate to the US. So that's the first thing. Orientation is the second problem. Most Africans in the diaspora haven't gone through the proper orientation to allow them to be able to do business successfully in the US. So it's a challenge when you deal with the African community. And this is not to say the African people are bad customers or anything like that. It's just the cultural shock that is, in doing business with Africans. So, but for the most part, there are people that are willing to learn and listen, and change. And in my experience, I've had, an experience in seeing people that were willing to learn and change and adapt to the situation in which they currently find themselves.
Okay.
Whereas others who are now willing to change at all. So that's where the challenge is.
The challenges.
Yeah, it's kind of challenging, because our people will listen to you,
Yeah.
but they will not implement any of the things you tell them.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of really difficult.
That I want Anthony to respond to this question, and I know that he has also been working extensively in our communities. Anthony, same question.
Yeah,
How long have you been doing this, and then your experience, your observation?
Yeah, I think similar. I think to Brother Wilson in that I come from a background of business also, and I've always had that drive, that entrepreneurship drive, right, in order to be out there and to be successful. Freeport Financial Group specifically has been around since 2017. That's when that corporation went official. But we've done various businesses. I really look at myself as more of a trader, in that, everything that we're doing is transactional, in terms of different, every opportunity that we come across, right? And we seek to exploit those and get the best out of it. Now, similarly, just like Brother Wilson was saying, yes, there is a huge dynamic shift in terms of, or dynamics in terms of how business is done in the diaspora versus how business is done, in the African continent. And I think that is where people like myself come in terms of helping people navigate that process. And rightfully said, when you're coming from Africa, for example, we live in a business environment that is very unstructured, and a lot of silent or unspoken rules about how business is done, right? And when you come here, it's a different environment where businesses are a little bit more structured. You know, the government, in its own wisdom, has put together processes in terms of how business should be function.
Right.
And if you look at it, and a lot of that goes back to the original formation of the country, right? Because it was founded by entrepreneurs, you know, and business owners. You know, so if you look at it, everything is structured and is designed for that, because entrepreneurship is what drives, and it's the engine that drives the society and the economy, in order for us to create opportunities for those that are not opportunity creators, so to speak. You know, so one needs the rules and needs to know the how to, but ultimately it's up to the individual to be willing to implement the strategies and the guidance that they receive. Okay,
thank you. Brother Wilson, there are a few questions that I want us to go through, and then also there are changes there on the 24th of February. The president, Joe Biden, announced a few changes to the PPP second draw, and I think a lot of people are aware. But those who are not aware, we'll probably see if we can share the screen and go through those changes that might benefit people who were initially who would have fallen out of the criterias that were designed for the second PPP. And so this might be very, very beneficial. We'll share it on the screen. I want us to look at, a lot of times we all want to set up business, but Brother Wilson, and maybe Tony, you can also chime in if you want. Can you give us the different scenarios? Who is a businessman, an entrepreneur, a sole proprietor, or an independent contractor? Because we hear all of these things, and a lot of times we jumble all of them. We think, you know, if you're a sole proprietor, you're a businessman. Right? If you're a businessman, you are an entrepreneur. In our head, we think it's the same. Can you help us differentiate these different entities, if I may call them, if there are any differences?
Right. That's a very interesting question. Now, when we talk about the difference between an entrepreneur, a businessman, a sole proprietor, and an independent contractor, these words are often used interchangeably by the public. But the truth is, they are similar. They are similar. They are all similar because they have a symbiotic relationship. An entrepreneur is someone who's a business creator. So an entrepreneur is definitely a businessman, because you cannot be a business creator. You cannot be a business creator when you can run a business, right? So an entrepreneur is someone who's creative enough to identify opportunities in an environment and come up with strategies to fulfill the needs that are found in that environment, to take advantage of the opportunities, to benefit the community and himself. That's an entrepreneur. So you are now. On the other hand, a businessman, like I said, the definition is symbiotic, because they're all similar. A businessman is someone who can actually run and operate a business. So he's equally an entrepreneur because, you know, he thinks. But again, you can have a businessman who's not a business, just business policies. Now, in Africa, for example, most people are sole proprietors because to register a business, first of all, is a big challenge. Now, in the US, it's easy to set up a business because the environment has been enabled so that you can actually start a business, register a business, and run it. Right. So it's proprietor is someone who's simply doing business in his name. He's registered. So I wake up one morning and I think, oh, you know what? Maybe I can open maybe an ice cream shop around the neighborhood because it's too hot in the summer and people have to drive maybe an hour just to get ice cream, right? So I buy my ice cream machine, I rent a spot, and I start selling my ice cream. I don't need to go to Secretary of State to get any kind of registration. I don't need anything. I'm doing business in my name. Now, at the end of the year, if I have to file my taxes, I'm filing my taxes in my name, and I'm reporting the income that came from my sole proprietorship together with the associated expenses. So I'm filing a Schedule C, basically. So I'm a sole proprietor, right? Sole proprietor simply means I'm a one-man owned business. Now, the disadvantage of a sole proprietorship is, there's no continuity if the sole proprietor dies. The second disadvantage is the risk. I'm bearing all the risk. So in a situation where if I have an ice cream shop and someone shows up and purchases ice cream and slips and falls, they can sue me. And if they sue me, they can go after my assets, even the assets that were derived from selling the ice cream. So money that I made from somewhere else is at risk because my risk is not properly protected because everything is done as Wilson. So that's another danger of being a sole proprietorship. And we finally have the independent contractor. So an independent contractor simply, I mean, in tax terms, is someone who's doing business as a sole proprietor. Okay, you are independent and you are contracting, as the term goes, independent contractor. So you're independent, you're doing business in your name, you get a 1099 at the end of the day. That's a simple difference. A sole proprietor might not end up with a 1099, but an independent contractor should be getting a 1099 for doing in his name.
Excellent. And
so those, I mean, they are all interrelated at some point.
Interrelated. Okay. Yeah. So I think what makes the difference is the tax involvement here. If you
interesting. Very interesting. Now, for a businessman, right? Now, if we call you a businessman and you're properly structured, so you have your own entity, there are some advantages to be derived from that, right? So, you know, the bank will be more comfortable to loan money to someone who has a structured business. So you have an LLC or a C Corp or an S Corp or an LLP or a PC, whatever it is, right? It's structured. It has a tax ID. So it's a separate entity, you know, that's created by law with all the rights and, you know, obligations and also responsibilities like a human. So if you go to the bank with a tax ID and a corporation, the bank will be more likely to loan you money. Okay. Yeah, because it's entity to entity, right? So you go to an individual, that's a problem. You might get a loan, but it's going to be more difficult. It's tougher for you to climb. Now, we hear people talking about SBA here and there. It's like most people just got to hear about SBA after the COVID-19 pandemic. But mind you, SBA has been around for years. And the sole purpose of SBA is to help small businesses to have federally backed loans at very low interest rates to be able to do business. Now, if you are properly structured and you've been in business for at least 2 years, it's easy for you to go to SBA and get a low interest loan. Easy. Okay, this is not new. No, I'm surprised that most people heard about SBA in 2020.
Yes. And on that note, let me take some. Let's go to Anthony. Very, very informative stuff, and I'm glad that you brought this thing up. Yes, a lot of people heard about SBA in 2020 and that's the reason why we're having this conversation. That's the reason why I feel like this discussion is very, very important, so that we don't have to wait for a pandemic situation for us to hear about these things. We should know these things. We should already know them. Before I continue, D Page AMPONSAH is on the show. Thank you so much, D Page. Mike LA is watching us. D Page says thank you. She says great word, and he says thank you, Captain Mike. And Rebecca is also here. She says thank you for the information. Thank you, Rebecca, for chiming in. Anthony, so now that we are hearing of SBA, we are hearing of stimulus package, a stimulus check has always been there every now and then. From your perspective, what do you think that the African community or people, regular folks, are not doing well enough when it comes to our finances?
Great question. And really what we're not doing well enough, I believe, is just what we call the 6 P's, you know, which is proper prior planning prevents poor performance. Okay. Really just really about an individual having a goal in life, having a direction, a purpose. What is it that you're chasing? What is it that you're after? Right. And I think that is where you start, because I think a lot of times what happens is that most people get into the system. We're all hard workers, you know, and we're willing to work hard. But a lot of times we don't understand that working hard is not the whole secret. It's half of the secret. You know, you need to also work smart and also work within the system that you're in. So just like we started off with, it's about how you take advantage of opportunities is by being prepared. You know, if you're not prepared, the opportunity will come and you will miss it. And that's what happened to a lot of people. 2020, just like Brother Wilson is saying, everybody's not hearing of SBA and PPP and all those things, and they're confused. They're wondering, are these new things? You know, they've been around, you know, and how do you access it? You know, and a lot of people weren't in position to access the money. Why? Because there were certain qualifications. If you see that these programs that came out, I hope by now most people have realized that these programs were designed for what? To help entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Businesses.
Yeah.
That is all the government cared about. The
Right.
minute the economy started crashing due to the pandemic, the first thing they wanted to do was what? Keep businesses afloat.
There you go.
What that means is that you as an individual has to start thinking that way and say that, hey, if the founders were all business people, the tax structure is designed to benefit business people, the loans, the programs, the SBAs, the opportunities always seems to benefit the business community, then what do I need to do? I need to become a business. I need to have a business as an entity. And
Right.
just like you said, you don't need to be a sole proprietor. Yes, you can, but I think you can leverage the system more by creating entities and leveraging that structure. And by doing so, now you're prepared, right? Because after you've gone through the process of deciding whether you want to start some type of business and all of that, that has now given you the research, the opportunity to do your research, figure out if there is a market and all of that. Now that you've done all of that, now you can now seek for funding and ways to get that funding. And that's what this whole PPP and all the various programs were all designed. But again, most of us or most of our people were not able to take advantage of it, because if you recall the first one, your business had to be in operation before January of 2020.
Yeah.
So imagine March or so, you hear about PPP loan, or April or June. Now you'll say, oh, I want to be a business. Business was never there. You see, so you missed it.
You missed it. Yeah. Yeah.
But again, now that information or knowledge has come, hopefully we can help people set these up, because like it literally, and at Freeport, if you reach out, we can help you with that. It literally takes no more than 10, 15, 20 minutes in some cases to kind of get a business registered and get going, right? It may take a little bit of time to get some of the other paperwork approved and back to you as far as incorporating in the States. But to get a federal tax ID, literally you can sit in front of your computer and within 10 minutes or less have a tax ID. And there's no limit on how many businesses you can create. You know, for me, for example, if I think of an idea, I like a name. If I see that it's available, I create an entity. Doesn't mean I'm using it. A business, having a business entity even registered does not mean that it has to be operating, you know. But sometimes doing proper and right documentation ahead of time helps you when the opportunity arises.
That's very, very, very powerful. I know when we start the conversation of life insurance is going to take us a long time to literally go into every detail of it. But we would like to touch on life insurance. It's 6:38 p.m. You are still listening to the Progressive Mind Show. We are live here in the studios. We are currently being carried by MyStar Radio, a Pan-African radio station, online radio station in the Midwest, in the DC area. MyStar Radio is for the discerning listeners, and you can go online and look up MyStar Radio and listen to it 24/7. We are also currently being carried by Trend Africa TV. So we're live on Trend Africa TV. We're working very hard to get a lot of syndication so we can be on different platforms. Remember that your support to this program goes a long way. So you can always go on our website, thepmsshow.com, thepmsshow.com. Later in this show, I'm going to tell you about some of the growth that is coming to the Progressive Minds. We have to grow, as in every people grow, entities grow, organizations grow. So we naturally are moving forward. And as a result, our logo, our website, and some of our branding is going to be changing a little bit, not too much. So you might see on social media little tweaks here and there to our I would say organization symbols and flyers and all of that. And it's all in the goal, all in the aim of trying to move to a better place. We have come a long way. And so please work with us. We also encourage you to share ideas with us, and because we're a group and we like to work with our community. So feel free to share ideas with us to info.progressiveminds@gmail.com. This evening, we're talking about pandemic money, we're talking about businesses, we're talking about taxes. How do we marry all these, to enhance our lives in the diaspora? So, Anthony, thank you so much for sharing that information. Before I go to Brother Wilson, I also want to share with us. Now, there's also the talk of people using their money to buy stocks. There's a lot of stocks conversation going on, cryptocurrency. There's a whole bunch of money, instruments, right, out there. Help us understand which one is safe. What can the regular person just go and put their money in and expect growth?
Well, you can expect growth from a lot of places. And I think, when it comes to investing, there's always an inherent risk, that one has to, first of all, come into terms with, but that shouldn't stop anybody, because everything that we're talking about is all about balancing risk. Being a businessman, an entrepreneur, an investor, going out there, living life, it's all about risk taking, right?
Yeah.
I would say that if you have capital, there are opportunities. Obviously, if you look in the markets, whether it's in the stock market, which is, and really in the trading platform, I look at it more about trading, right? Because everybody can trade, and within that trading space, there are a lot of different instruments that one has access to, and those vary from very low risk entry points or very high return, higher risk instruments out there. So, and right now, actually, the trading space is something that a lot of people are gravitating to, here at Freeport Financial Group. In fact, we have been teaching and educating people how to trade in both the Forex and the stock and the crypto space, for about, over 3.5 years now, and what we basically see is that there are opportunities there, and in the stock area, at least where we like to focus is, we like to focus more on health and tech. That's where we like to focus, because that's where we see the future. We see where the opportunities are, so we like to capitalize. We know that we're in the 21st century, and we know that health and tech is a great avenue, or great opportunities lies in that area. So that's where we like to focus. We also like to take advantage of what I personally believe is going to be revolutionary, which is in the crypto space. Now, somebody may be hearing that and thinking, oh, it's very volatile, it's very new, it's unsecured, it's all of this. And yes, there's a lot of merit to that argument. But what I would like to say is that a lot of times we fail to recognize that money as we see it has been evolving all along. We started bartering. We were trading tomatoes and onions. Then we were trading shekels and coins and rice and all those things. We lived in a point in time where our money was secured. It was backed by something like gold. Now we're spending money that has no value, no real intrinsic value. It has value because the government, we have all agreed to use that tender and therefore giving it value. But think about it. People are also losing faith in that process, right? And this is not new. This is something that's been going on all throughout history. We go through periods of bank panics where people realize that, hey, when you go to the bank today, if we were all to go to the bank and demand our money, you will realize there's no money there. So we're living in almost like a mirage, which is what is giving birth to this crypto space now. And part of that is more about decentralization and also allowing people to change based on the times. Now that we're going digital, we need a more secured way to be able to authenticate transaction. And that's where the crypto is coming to fill that void.
Anthony, if you go to the bank, you will not see, if we all go to the bank, we will literally not see our money sitting there idle. What do you mean by that?
Well, what the banks realized, and this goes way back, what the banks realized very early on in the process was that when people bring their deposits, and the bank basically give you a piece of paper that says, I owe you, right? Anytime you need your money, come back and get it. What the banks realized very early on, and this again goes way back, was that most people were not coming back. On average, most people don't come back. Only about 10 to 15% of the people were coming back consistently to get their money. So what did the banks do? They realized there's an opportunity here. So they say, hey, rather than just sitting on this money, we can start lending out this money so we can make more money out of it, because after all, the people that gave us the money aren't coming back. Fast forward, you keep doing that, and some of the ways that the banks are regulated and managed, you get into a process, because the bank leverages a system called fractional reserve, where the money that you put in, they don't have to hold on to it. They only have to reserve 10%, and they can lend out 90%, right? And guess what? Every time they lend out money, by doing that, they generate fresh money out of thin air. Because now they said we have a new IOU, a new person that we've given a loan to. You see what I'm saying? They keep doing that, and now you run into a situation. Just ask yourself, all across the world, everybody is borrowing trillions. Who has trillions of dollars? Where are the trillions of dollars that we're about to now add, 1.9 trillion? Where is that money coming from? Well, the simple thing is that it's just coming out of thin air. You know, and essentially what people are, and that's some of the concerns that people have about the markets, because, you know, and I don't want to get into a deep lecture on this because I actually teach a whole class on this, is that the way the bank that you're seeing, or the Federal Reserve that controls our monetary supply and regulates the economy from that standpoint, the way it's set up is basically we allow private entities, right, to lend money to the government, and then the government pushes that into the system, right? And in doing so, guess what? The interest and everything that is being paid, where do you think that money is going to? It's going back to the reserve, and it's going back to what? The private entities. Why? Because at the end of the day, they are the ones that have the sole authority to create new money, right? Which is backed by nothing but more so than the good and faith and the good credit of the United States government, right? So that is the situation that we find ourselves. And most people don't even have this foundational understanding, which is what is money,
right?
And how does it work, and how do you utilize it?
Yeah. And thanks for sharing. And that's why we're trying to have this conversation. You also mentioned something about the opportunities now when it comes to investments is within health and tech. Now, if you say that, some people will just, what is health and tech? Of course, is healthcare and tech, but what is the detail, right? Are you talking about stocks in the health sector and technology sector?
Yeah, that's what I meant. There are other opportunities. I was more saying that on the Freeport space, we like to focus more on the health and tech when it comes to investing in stocks.
Okay.
We do things on the real estate side, but we're also very heavy on the crypto side too.
Okay.
Right? Because there is no asset that's growing 1,000%. You know, there aren't that many instruments that are growing at that pace, and it's still at its infancy, right? So what we see is that we know that today the way money is already changing. Okay. And when you have the big corporations are all coming on board, right? Because they know they have to change with the times. You have other countries that have sat back for years and realized that, hey, you know what? For so long, the greenback, which is the dollar, has become the world's reserve currency. And they're tired of it. They're tired of the sanction regime where you can be cut off anytime. So they are all now looking for a way to go digital, leveraging crypto. So we like to be on the forefront and buy it while it's cheap.
Okay. Thank you so much. Once again, Brother Wilson, how does one say, I don't know if you can use the word leverage taxes or paying taxes on their business I'm asking this question because we set up businesses and sometimes you are in dilemma whether you have to go LLC, incorporation, S Corp, and all those different status that you want to give your business. Now, how important can you give us the differences in the different statuses, and how important is the tax system to our, running of our businesses in this country? Because we know there are tax breaks depending on what you do and how you use your business and all of that. So help us understand the relationship between taxes and running of your business successfully.
Well, thanks for the question. That's a very interesting question, and it's very, very fundamental when it comes to thinking about the type of structure that you need for your business. first of all, you got to think about your goals and objectives as a businessman. How big do you want to go? Because there are certain restrictions with certain structures. So we have basically the LLC, which is a limited liability company. We have the S Corp and we have the C Corp. These are the most common types of structures we have in the US. Now, there are differences between these various structures, and this also affects the way taxes are being treated. So I'll begin with an LLC, which is the most common form. Because if you go anywhere, maybe the man on the street knows about an LLC, although they do not understand the details as it pertains to taxes.
No,
So
no, I can tell you right now that the regular man on the street don't care, don't know about LLC. I'm telling you. You see, Anthony shaking his head.
No, but I know where he was going.
Look,
take that back.
But my brother, it's a lot of us.
Anthony,
Anthony, you know what I'm thinking? I think Wilson has been in this country a bit longer than the two of us. I'm just kidding, though. I'm just joking. But Wilson, no, brother Wilson, I'm just trying to say that there are
people
many people. Go ahead.
Well, you might be right, okay, but I'm talking from the perspective of the people I meet when they try to create a business. Most of the clients call me, the first thing they tell me is, should I create an LLC? Or I was told to create an LLC. So probably that's where I'm getting my information from. But I'm not extrapolating that 90% of Americans know about LLCs. That's not the point. Most people that are interested in starting a business, the first thing they tell them is to start an LLC. Okay.
Good.
Now,
and you know why? And you know why people, you know why, right? Because that's the only thing we hear, right? LLC.
Right. And this is the thing. Most attorneys will tell you to start up an LLC because it's easy to start up, very easy creation. And the bookkeeping or the regulations for an LLC are kind of a little less stringent than that of a corporation. Okay, less paperwork, easy to start up and stuff like that.
Right.
So most attorneys will refer you to an LLC. Now, there's an advantage to having an LLC. Okay. An LLC is going to provide you what they call the limited liability protection. Remember, when I was talking about the sole proprietorship, I mentioned the fact that a sole proprietorship is exposed to risk. There's no risk mitigation as far as liability is concerned.
Right.
But with an LLC, you're actually protected because you have this corporate veil that shields you from any personal liabilities. Okay, so if I sue the LLC, I can't go after your personal asset because of that corporate veil. Now, the problem is most people create LLCs without even understanding the intricacies. Now, you could create an LLC, enjoy the limited liability protection, but being a sole member LLC, it's not going to help you when it comes to filing your taxes. Why? Because your taxes will still be filed as a sole proprietor. Why? Because the LLC, which is a sole member LLC, is considered to be a disregarded entity in the world of taxation. Okay, disregarded in the sense that LLCs generally file partnership returns, which is on a 1065 form. Okay, now if you are a sole member LLC, then you cannot file a 1065 form because you are not a partnership. You do not have a partner. So this is where it becomes a little tricky and kind of technical. That's where you need a CPA or a tax attorney to help you restructure your LLC to be treated as an S Corp for tax purposes. Okay, it gets tricky. So now you are a sole member LLC, but for tax purposes, you can elect with a form 2553. Okay, that's an election to be treated as an S Corp. Now you can now file an entity return and take all the deductions because those are the tax advantages of having an entity. You have a bunch of deductions. Whereas if you file in taxes as your sole proprietorship, if you look at the expenses, they are not exhaustive, very limited expenses for sole proprietors. But when you look at the business tax return, like from 1065 or 1120 or 1120S, it's an inexhaustive list. So now that's where you find someone who can help you to elect to be treated as an S Corp. It gets technical, it gets tricky.
Yeah.
So now you take advantage with all the deductions. Now, the second structure is the S Corp, right? And a lot of people don't know about S Corp, but it's been existing for years now. So an S Corp is simply a subchapter S, under the tax code, small business corporation. And that's where I'm advising most people listening to this show, if they think about having a corporation, that's what they should think of doing, because it has what they call the pass-through element. Pass-through meaning you have an S corp, you file a tax return, report your income and all your expenses. At the end of the day, if you end up with a profit, the profit is not taxable at the federal level. So your tax return is informational. You're simply telling the IRS, I made some money. And then the profit flows through to you or the other shareholders. Okay. So when you get that profit, you report that income on your 1040 when you file your personal tax returns. That's why it's called a pass-through. Okay. And now the tax will be based on your personal tax bracket, because we all have our individual tax bracket depending on how much we make, right? So you know, your tax bracket could be 15%, it could be 20%. Whereas if you look at the other structure, which is the C Corp, the C Corp is this large corporation. That's the oldest form of corporation in the US. Now they have a straight up tax rate. Trump helped us to cut it down to 21%. It used to be 35% before 2018. So the Job Act and Tax Cut, the Tax Cut and Job Act cut the tax rate to 21%. One of the best things President Trump ever did. Now, with that form of corporation, there's no pass-through element. The losses stay within the corporation. So assuming you have a loss, you could carry those losses forward for 20 years. For example, let's say you prepared a tax return for your C Corp in 2019, and you had a loss of $20,000. Now you're not going to pay taxes. You're going to save those losses because it's not a pass-through. So you're not going to use those losses on your 1040. In 2020, you file a tax return and you have a profit of $10,000. Now, you rather than paying taxes on the $10,000, you're going to go back to 2019, take the $20,000 losses and offset the $10,000 profit in 2020. Now you have $10,000 of losses saved for future years. So that's the difference between the C, the S, and the LLC. Now, most people that I talk to have a question they always end up asking, like, okay, if you're telling me the S Corp has all these advantages, why isn't everybody having an S Corp?
Exactly.
Okay, the answer to this is simple.
Yeah.
Number one, they're not aware of it. Okay, that's the most common answer. Number two, there are certain restrictions to having an S Corp. To be a shareholder of an S Corp, you have to be a U.S. citizen or a resident of the United States of America. Okay, that's number one restriction. Number two restriction, you cannot issue anything other than the common stock, because you know there are different types of stock, right? We have common stock and we have preferred stock, and under the preferred stock, we have different types of preferred stock, right? So with an S Corp, you can only issue common stock. So if you're thinking that your company might want to be issuing preferred stock, then you are eliminated or you're not eligible to start an S Corp. Now, the other issue with an S Corp is that you cannot have foreign shareholders.
Okay,
right?
You can have foreign shareholders. Now let me limit you. Let me try and bring you to again, regular folks. I mean, most of the people in the, I would say, low income, middle income communities, in the African community, in the diaspora, basically, we tend to, be small business owners, or we tend to at least, aim at being small business, and sole proprietors and independent contractors. Now, how do we benefit? How do we benefit off of the tax system? And do we have to, if you are a sole proprietor or independent contractor, should you register as an S Corp based off some of these advantages that you were talking about? I want you to bring it to small businesses and how we can get, how these things benefit us.
Okay. So let me break it down in simple terms, right?
Thank you. Yeah, that would help us.
When you file taxes as a sole proprietor, first of all, because you are self-employed, there's something called the self-employment tax. The self-employment tax is taxed at 15.3%. Yeah. Now, in simple terms, what the self-employment tax entails is the Social Security and Medicare taxes. And most people that start off small businesses have already worked in corporate America for at least 10 years to raise the capital to start a small business, right? Now, you do not need to make any more Social Security contributions if you already vested in Social Security. Second of all, I don't think it's wise for someone to depend or rely on Social Security as their retirement nest egg. So why would you be putting money in Social Security? So now, as a sole proprietor, you paying the 15.3% self-employment tax. Of course, half is the employer half and half is the employee half. What I mean by that is you are your own employer and at the same time you're your own employee. That's why you pay 15.3%. But of course, half of the 15.3% is deductible to you as the sole proprietor. So let's say the tax is 7.6%. Okay. Now, if you structure yourself as an S corp, you do not have to pay self-employment taxes because an S corp is an entity. It's not an individual. So you save in 15.3% right off the bat by having an S corp. Okay? So that's an advantage.
Okay, so
Number
all you were saying,
two,
go ahead with number two. Because I wanted to come in quickly. All you were saying is that you'll be advisable for small businesses or people who are, trying to go into it to register their business and structure it as S corp. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, great, because of the tax code is designed, it kind of helps you as an entity when you have that structure.
So many tax advantages to be derived from having an S corp.
Okay, go on with number two. You said number two, so continue from there.
So number two, the S corp there's a clause. If you have an S corp, generally you have to set up payroll for yourself. And the reason you're setting up payroll because S corps don't pay taxes. That's another tax advantage. So as an S corp, you're filing an informational tax return. When you file a return, if you make $1 million, the S corp doesn't pay a dime on the $1 million. Okay, it passes through to the owners.
Is that why Donald Trump didn't pay a lot of taxes? Maybe.
Of course, most of these. Okay, this is the thing. There's a myth out there on the street. People talk about rich people or wealthy people don't pay taxes. That's a myth. Everybody pays taxes. The difference is how structured are you, and it doesn't matter how much money you have. If you structure yourself properly, you're going to take advantage of the tax loopholes, just like Donald Trump, just like all the other rich folks are doing. The tax law is for everybody. Now you need to know what to do. And that's the problem with our community. I think Brother Anthony can bear me witness on this. Our people not want to use professionals because in their minds, they're thinking it's going to be expensive to go to a CPA or a tax attorney to get your taxes done. Because remember, the day you file your taxes is not when you take the tax break. You got to do some tax planning. Tax planning begins at the beginning of the year. Now, this is when I sit with my clients and I look and review their situations. Like, okay, this is what you expect to make this year. Now, these are the things we can do to prevent you from paying taxes that you're not supposed to be paying. Because a lot of people are paying taxes they're not supposed to be paying because they're not doing the proper tax planning. You do not do tax planning on the day of filing your tax returns. Look, Senna, if you come to my office today to file your taxes, you already have your documentation, right? What am I going to do for you? There's so little I can do as far as your taxes. But if you come to me now and say, okay, Wilson, I want to think about tax planning for 2021. So by the end of the year, we already have these mechanisms and strategies put in place. So when you come in to see me in January or February of 2022, we've already taken care of that. For instance, we can talk about profit sharing. You own a business, right? You work for your business. Your business have an arrangement where the profit is shared between the company and the employees. Now, that doesn't stop you from doing it if you're a one-man-owned company. Okay? You can set up payroll for yourself. Because what I see with most of our people, they're working for free. Now, after the guy creates a company because he thinks he owns the company, he works basically for free. Now, he doesn't pay himself. When you ask him why, he's telling, oh, it's my business. Now, the question is, if you hired me to do the same job, wouldn't you pay me? Another lame excuse I hear all the time is, but well, the business just got started. I don't have enough funds to pay myself. Now, if you were to hire an outsider and the business is still in its startup phase, won't you go to the bank and loan money to pay your staff? Would you tell your staff, my business is at the startup? No, when you start making millions, you're not going to tell your staff you're making millions. So paying yourself It's a deduction to your company.
Mm,
Okay.
mm,
And
mm.
you basically, you got to take care of the time and effort that you put in the business. For S corps and LLCs, right? The pass-through effect or the pass-through element has some regulations. So if you have a loss from your LLC or your S corp, you can basically take those losses to offset income on your 1040 from other sources, right? That's a tax advantage. But the truth is, there are rules to the game. You don't just write off losses. You got to have basis.
For writing those losses.
Right. Your
Right.
basis ought to be equal to or greater than the amount of the loss for you to be able to carry those losses forward. Otherwise, those losses will be saved for future years. Now,
Okay.
if you loan yourself or your company some money, that's adding up to your basis, and you use that money to pay yourself, that increases your company's expenses. So at the end of the day, you're going to end up with a loss, and you have basis that makes you eligible to take those losses. So
Okay.
there's so much going on.
Yeah, yeah. it's it's like if you're a soccer fan, it's like Ronaldinho or Messi. They have those moves. There's moves. There's all types of. But you need. I think the point here is that since there are so many intricacies in these types of thing when it comes to businesses and taxes, you need an expert. You
do.
need an expert.
Absolutely.
Everyone, look. If your house need plumbing work, you don't try to fix it yourself. Yes, sometimes you can go on YouTube. You can go on YouTube and do some easy fix. But the price of not doing it well, okay, versus doing it at one, paying some money and doing it well, it's very huge. And so you need to look at the risk. Either you want to cut corners and do things haphazardly, like we have been doing, unfortunately, or now that we are hearing this, right, we need to work harder and get involved with our experts. There are so many experts in our community. Anthony is here. He's been, beating the gong for a long time. He's been talking to people, invest your money, life insurance, and all of that. And so we got to do better as a community. And Wilson, thank you so much. You've given us a lot of information. I'm going to want to go to Albert. Looks like we have comments coming in. DePage. Oh, you know what? It didn't. Okay, this is Madame Auntie DePage, Mrs. AMPONSAH. Good evening. Thank you so much for your contribution. She says, "Thank you, Mr. ATIABET. Thank you." So, and then Rebecca says, "Thanks," and definitely. Trend Africa TV says good information, and Hema Kojiv official. I think that's one I butchered that name there, so please pardon me. Hervar Koj. He says cool ideas. Of course, these are very very great information. So thank you for chiming in, sir. I think he's watching on the YouTube page. The page says contact Freeport Financial Group at 309-530-4004 if you need their services. Now, at this point, I think we all should be doing that. We all should be contacting these guys to be getting advices and to be subscribing or to be enrolling in their program so we can do better, so we can take advantage of this plenty money that is being poured in the system right now. Rebecca Mother says because some of us didn't know. Okay, I think she's responding to how we've been doing things, some of the things that you've said already, Wilson and Anthony, and it's true. We didn't know. We don't know some of these things that you guys are saying. So it's very, very good. We really, really appreciate it. Pearl says, eye opener, great information. Thank you so much, Pearl. And Rebecca again says, thank you so much, Wilson. Thank you. And so if you're listening, this is the Progressive Mind Show. It's 8 minutes past 7 p.m. We're still here and talking about pandemic money, business, and taxes. If you have any questions, the number to ring is on the screen. It's on the right corner, bottom right corner of the screen. It's 815-277-5047. 815-277-5047. Anthony, so these now, once you started your business, sole proprietor, and money is coming here and there, where should you put it? Okay, if you do your 9 to 5 and you're selling your sobolo, let's say you started a small sobolo business and you're making money out of that, you're doing your business from your house, whatever, you're contracting, you're cooking for people, you are doing catering, wedding, even what do you call it? What do you call these people? The people who do makeup artists, makeup. We have a lot of them in our community. So all these folks, now that the money is coming in, a lot of time the tendency is that, I want to build a house in Ghana, right? Or I want to buy a car and sell it to Ghana, or maybe I want to put it in the bank. We like to stash money in our account because that has been a tradition. That's what we've been taught. Now, how do we break away from that? And where would you say, now that you are seeing money coming in, take it to this place? You've talked about crypto, but how do you do that? Can you just go to crypto? So can you just help us? Should they come to you and then you can set them up and invest their money well for them? Or can you just go online and put their money, in another, investment portfolio or something like that? Please help us and, walk us through this.
Great question, and great contribution to my co-panelist, Mr. Wilson. And what I would say is that now that the money is coming in, you have to understand what money is, right? Money is what also known as currency, right? And the root of it is current, right? Meaning that it has to flow, So right away we see that the old mindset that we had from our grandmothers and grandfathers and all of that was wrong, which was a hoarding mentality, where when you make money, you find a mattress or a pillowcase somewhere, and the goal was to stuff it and hide it and keep it there, you know. But that's not how money works, because the idea of money is that it needs to flow, it needs to be reinvested. Why? Because what is happening to your money from day one, even in this economy, even in the US market, is that on average, we're averaging around 2.5% to 3% in inflation every year. So the value of the money that you have today is losing on average 2.5% to 3% a year. What is that? That is your loss of purchasing power. So you take that money and you hide it in your bank. You have $10,000 today in January, and let's say at the beginning of the year, and you hide it in your bank, or you hide it under your pillow somewhere. At the end of the year, you would have lost effectively 3% purchasing power, meaning the money can do 3% less or buy you 3% less than at the beginning of the year. So right away, now you know that the money cannot sit idle. It needs to grow. It needs to at least, at the minimum, I tell people, if your money is not getting 2.5% to 3%, move that money. It needs to at least be keeping up with inflation. Otherwise, you're just losing money. So we have right now estimated as roughly around $6 trillion sitting in checking accounts, earning less than 1%. A lot of these checking accounts, even high yield savings accounts, they're not even getting the threshold of 1%. Now, let me tell you this. There's a concept called the rule of 72, right? And it's a mathematical formula. And what it says is that if you're given an interest rate, take the number 72 and divide it by that interest rate somebody promises you. Now, this helps you and works against you also. From today, you can use this going forward. Think about it. If you have money sitting in a bank account and they tell you you get 1% interest. Now, most people will be happy to find 1%, right? 1% interest. What does that mean? 72 divided by 1% is what? 1. I mean, 72. 72 divided by 1 is what? 72. That means mathematically, it's going to take 72 years for your initial capital to double.
Wow.
You see?
Yeah.
So the banks and these institutions are banking on the fact that you don't understand how money works and how it grows.
Exactly.
You need the money to compound. So now investments and all of those, it's not a cookie cutter. I wish I can sit here and tell you, take your money and put it all here. No, you need to sit down and have a plan. You have to have a strategy. You know, what does that investment for your tax implication, right? You can go into stocks, fine. If you go into stocks and you do short-term day trading, it has a bigger tax implication than if you're doing long-term, buying and holding for a longer period. So all of that has to be factored into your strategies. What is your risk appetite? You know, how much can you afford to lose? You know, if you have to have that mindset that, hey, it's an opportunity to gain, but it's also an opportunity for you to lose. So what that means is that you cannot be taking your next week's rent payment to go and put it and buy crypto.
Right.
Because the market goes down, now you have a heart attack.
Right.
We don't want that.
So your savings, so the money that you would probably put in your checking or your savings, right? Because again, per our culture, we like to save. Oh,
Yep.
I have this money in my savings. Sometimes too, it gives us that good feel factor, right? It's a good feel factor. Let me put it that way, right? And so you were seeing the money's there, and it kind of helps, kind of does something to your psyche. Now, that's the money I'm talking about, right?
That money, yes, that money. Yeah. There are different vehicles.
Yeah.
Okay, so for most people, their traditional vehicle that they leverage in is the 401k, right? And then they move into some IRAs and some Roth IRAs. Typically, there are some limitations to some of these instruments. So, for example, with Roth allows you some tax benefits, meaning that if you keep the money in there till you're 59 and a half, you avoid the taxes that on the gain. But you look at that and you say 59 and a half, that's a long time, so that strategy may not work for everybody. I don't tell my young guys to tie their money into an investment that they can't touch for 30 years without having to suffer some type of penalty, which is what a lot of these vehicles are also tied to. One of the vehicles that we've been helping a lot of people leverage is what we call the family bank. It's an investment structure where we are able to put people's money, their investments, tied to an insurance product, also to give them tax benefits, right? Right away, the gains that they get in these accounts avoid the taxes, okay? And that is both whether they're alive or they passed away, right? And then the other thing that we're able to also help them with is that they can get gains that do not impact other areas of their life, like Social Security or any financial aids that they can set up for their kids. But also, not only that, we give them all of that in an indexed strategy where it's not subject to the huge volatilities that is in the market, which is where most people's money is. The majority of people's money is in the 401k, right? And that's their form of retirement or their end all be all investment strategy. And what we've seen, if you look at the last 30 years, right, we've carved out, these are what we call the lost decades. What do I mean by that? Meaning the market went up, then there was a huge drop. Most people love it in right around 2008. Right when we recovered, the market crashed again. And then most people lost everything again. So what we're trying to do is help people put their long-term money in places where they're not as subject to the huge swings of the market.
I got you.
And then money that are a little bit more flexible, money that are a little bit more, has a little bit more room to take on bigger risk is where we advise people to take on, again, bigger risk based on their risk appetite. But this all requires sitting down. Again, one of the strategies we're teaching most people is take advantage of what is an emerging technology. That's the only time that the crypto space comes in. Now, we can help you get set up. We can help you and point you in the right direction. But again, that requires sitting down, helping the person understand the risk that they're about to take so that they are well versed before they decide to take a step one way or the other.
Excellent. Great point. I'm personally enjoying the show, and I know our audience are as well. Thank you so much for those who have commented so far and sent your regards as well. We really appreciate you. It's 80 minutes past 7 p.m. in the studios of the Progressive Minds. If you're watching us on Facebook, we encourage you to share it. As I said earlier, we are also live now on Facebook. We are being carried by MyStar Radio, an online Pan-African radio station on the East Coast, Washington, D.C. to be precise. It is a 24-hour radio station. You can tune in now, and this show is being carried live. We are also carried on live by Trend Africa TV, and again, working on other syndications. We are growing, as we mentioned, so watch out for new changes, few little tweaks to Progressive Minds. I think we ought to be doing that. And now that I'm hearing all of this information, Of course, our organization has to be structured very well. So I'm definitely going to be working with this gentleman. We've actually had some type of relationship going on already. We've had conversations on how to invest and whatnot. I think the problem with the African community and sometimes, Black people is that the culture of saving and investment has not been something that has been taught us, right? We didn't grow up with that. I can speak as an African. They don't teach you to save money, and maybe because of maybe the poverty situation that some of us have to go through and all of that, you can barely feed yourself. I mean, let's be real. Sometimes your parents are struggling to keep up the bills at home and feed you and take you to school. So we lose sight of these things. And so, but it's never too late. We'll be having this conversation for some decades now. And I think we have to keep going until we see a major change, right? I think that's what I'm trying to say. And so we are very grateful. We'll take a short break. When we come back, the show will continue with my great guest, Wilson, ATIABET CPA, owner of Wilson and Associates. Anthony AMPONSAH is also here with us. We shall be right back after this short commercial break.
Check out this beautifully made artistry of coffee tables made from a combination of recycled tires, jute ropes, wood, and fabric to suit your style. Yes, we make to order. These coffee tables can help you make a statement in your bedrooms, offices, and living rooms. But remember, we only ship within the USA and Canada after shipping cost is paid. Call Jasper Designs on 1-306-203-2650 or email us at dodoyaira@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram at Jasper Love or follow Pearl Yaira Agboka on Facebook. Don't be left out. Please place your orders now.
Great furniture made by our own Pearl. She's in Canada. Great lady. Man, when I had a conversation with this, actually she's done extra more beautiful coffee tables. These ones are a little. I told her we need the new ones. We want to see the new ones. She's done some very excellent and beautiful coffee tables, and she make these things out of used tires, from scratch. Make this is by these are handmade, no machine, right? Handcrafted. And so let's patronize this before some Chinese company, starts repackaging it and selling it back to us. But Wilson, can anybody can anybody set up a business and be successful with it? Can just anybody everybody's doing business. There's a talk of me registering company, because if I have a company, I get to benefit off of government money or whatever money that might be available. So I'm going to register in business. And is that real?
Well, that's kind of interesting, though. I mean, setting up a business is one thing; being successful is one thing.
Another thing. So can anybody just do it, or you have to have a mindset and a plan?
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to talk about. Okay. Success is not a fantasy. Success is a strategy, right? You don't succeed by fantasizing or hoping. As much as optimism helps to take it to the next level, you got to do some work. So creating a business is one thing. Being successful in operating the business is one thing. Now, what most people fail to understand is creating a business you got to make money, right? It's all about making money. But you have to have the passion for what you do. For instance, you have a passion for doing what you do right now. Anthony has a passion for what he does. That's why he's probably successful in what he does. Most people put the money first. Now, if you put the money first, then there's no vision. In the short run, you're going to make some money, of course. There's no business that doesn't have clients. No matter how bad the business is, someone is going to buy it from you. Okay, it doesn't even matter what you're selling. But in the long run, you're going to run out of business because you did not have a vision in the first place. So you need to have a vision, and you need to have a mission. And you got to have a strategy. You got to have a plan. And the next thing is, how big is your why? Why are you doing what you're doing? Is it just because you're trying to make some money for yourself? Is it because you're trying to fulfill a need? You got to identify that need. Be passionate about it. Because even if you make money out of something, as long as you don't have the passion, you're going to run out of love for it. And at some point, you're still going to get out of business. I've seen people who went to nursing school because, in America, when immigrants come to America, what do they tell them? Oh, go to nursing school. It's the most prestigious job. It's a recession-proof job, which is true. But I've seen people who've gone to nursing school, worked for a few years, and came back and said, this isn't for me, because they're not passionate about it. So it's not just about the money element, it's about the passion. So yes, I don't think anyone can start a business and succeed, but anyone can start a business and succeed if their why is big enough. Okay. So you got to know why you're doing the business. Because if you're doing the business just for money, and let's say you set up shop and next 3 months you're not having any clientele, what are you going to do? You're going to shut it up because it's all about money. But if you're passionate about what you do, for instance, like if Anthony is doing what he's doing because of the passion, he's going to keep talking to folks, educating them, informing them, without making any money. The fact that he's passing on this information, like I don't charge consultation fees because I don't think my time can be commoditized in any way. Because I don't see how I can put a money value to my time. Now there are plenty of times when a client calls me on the phone and he's talking to me, it's like, oh, Wilson, so now that we've talked, I like what you're saying. I want to set up an appointment. How much are you going to charge me for consultation?
Right.
Initially, I always laugh. I tell them, my time is not a commodity. I'm not selling my time. Come in, I'll give you 30 minutes. We'll talk about what you want to do. And if you feel like, moving forward, any other thing that I'm doing for you, I'm going to charge you for the services, of course, but I'm not going to charge you for talking, because I'm passionate about what I do. Now, educating my people is one of the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing. I was comfortable in corporate America. I was making good money working for somebody. But the thing is, I got up one day and asked myself, what value am I bringing on the table? Is it just me coming to work, working 8 hours and making money? No, that wasn't my why. So I have a bigger why, coming out here and setting up shop, because I found out my people were not informed enough. My people didn't understand the tax code. And for that reason, they were being taken advantage of. Right. So me coming out here was to help my folks. And I'm helping the community in my own little way. Because I believe that a man's legacy is not defined by how much money he leaves behind, but about how many smiles you put on the faces of the people that you met while you were living on this earth. I get thank you cards all the time. You came to my office the other day, you saw a bunch of flowers, right?
I saw I'm like, oh yeah, this man.
I got about 5 different bouquets of flowers from people saying thank you for what we do for them every day. Isn't that better than the dollar in my pocket?
Right.
So Anthony, Senna, I think that for you to succeed in a business, you need to have a big why. You need to be passionate about what you do, and you need to put in the time and the effort. So it's a combination of effort, of factors. It's not just opening up shop. Okay. So that's my understanding. From the number of people I've dealt with over the years.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. We also want to get a little bit more insight to the tax situation, even for individuals, who are not, filing, who are not like into business, whatever. But before we do that, a few comments. Eunice Teko Ayuk says, Wilson, ATIABET, Bazar, you are correct. Passion. I think she's agreeing with that passion thing. I agree with that too. Passion, strategy, etc. How do you add value, grow it? Those are the questions I'm sure she's adding to what Wilson said. And she says, speaking facts, Mr. ATIABET. Thank you so much. And then Dauda says, wow, you sound good, brother. Nice and crispy. Keep up the good work. Keep up the great work, everybody. Thank you so much, Aqua Dauda, for your comments. Mrs. AMPONSAH says, thank you, Mr. AMPONSAH. Thank you so much for sharing, for commenting. We are grateful. Well, before I go to Anthony, wanted to ask Wilson quickly, for individuals who are filing taxes, we've been filing taxes for a long time. Now that the stimulus package thing is here, and let me see if we can get this stimulus, get this information out. Let me see if we can get it out. Then we can follow. I can have a follow-up question. Please bear with me. Let me see if I can share this screen with my audience. Okay. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Right here. I think it's this one. Okay. So I don't know if it's visible for everyone to see. Maybe my audience, maybe it's not as visible, but let me see if I can read it. So it basically is saying that on Wednesday 24th, the SBA began a 14-day exclusive PPP loan application period for businesses and not-for-profits with fewer than 20 employees. All applications already submitted by lenders to the SBA before the start of the exclusivity period will be processed by the SBA. And it says a revision of the PPP funding formula for sole proprietors, independent contractors, and self-employed individuals will allow them to use the gross line income on Schedule C. The SBA is also setting aside $1 billion for those businesses without employees to low to moderate income communities. A few things that I want to get out there, then I can have Wilson respond to this. Wilson or Anthony. It goes on to say these businesses make up significant majority of blah, blah, blah. No, I don't really think we don't need this. I'm trying to get some exclusive information out there that pertains to some people, because prior to this law that was passed, or this new information that was given on the 24th of February, people who had a background and had some situations could not apply for the PPP. And so let me go to the number 3. It says fairer access for returning citizens by eliminating the PPP eligibility restrictions that did not allow those with a felony within the previous year to apply. However, the restriction on those with an arrest or felony conviction related to financial assistance fraud within the previous 5 years remains. And then number 4, it says allowing those who have struggled to make and are now delinquent on federal student loan payments to apply the PPP, ensuring access for immigrants, small business owners who lawfully reside the pay taxes in U.S. by clarifying that individual tax identification, which is TIN holders, can apply for the PPP. So I just want a little clarification on this, if from my guest. The first one is, what does it mean when it says you are allowed to use the gross income line on Schedule C? Maybe Wilson, can you help explain that to regular folks?
Absolutely. Yeah. So basically, when the SBA or the federal government launched the stimulus package for small businesses in the U.S. a few months ago, there were certain restrictions. One of the restrictions to small businesses filing a Schedule C, because sole proprietors actually file a Schedule C, the gross income is the starting point on the Schedule C, right? So you report your gross income. Let me use examples so everyone listening can understand.
Right.
Say you're a cab driver, right? And at the end of the year, you got a 1099 from Yellow Cab. Now, the 1099 shows how much you made from doing your transportation activity. So the amount is what you report on the Schedule C as your gross income. Okay. So let's, for example, you receive $50,000 as gross income from driving your cab in 2019. When you file that return, you start with the gross income of $50,000. Now you have associated expenses that include but not limited to gas expense, lease, because you lease a cab from a cab company. You have airport stamps and a lot of different other expenses. So after all these expenses have been factored in, what you have left is what they call the net income, right? And you are taxed based on your net income. Let's say your expenses came up to $40,000 and your net income is $10,000. Before this new legislation, the Small Business Administration would only consider the net income in order for you to get a loan proposal.
Okay.
But now with the new legislation, what they're saying is rather than looking at the net profit, they want to look at the gross income in order to be able to make small business owners eligible for a bigger loan.
Right.
Because most of them were getting a small share instead of getting a bigger amount like big companies do. They were giving them money based on their net income. So now this eliminates that restriction. So if your gross income was $100,000, irrespective of your expenses, even if you ended up with a loss, you could have had expenses for $110,000, meaning that you had a negative $10,000 of income. So you lost money. Now, if you lost money, SBA will not even consider giving you anything because you lost money. Now, with this new PPP legislation that just came out, they're going to look at the gross income, which is $100,000 in consideration for you to get a loan. They don't care if you made a profit or not. So, which is really good.
Which is good.
A lot of people that were not eligible to get a huge loan amount in the past to get something reasonable now. So that thumbs up to Joe Biden.
Okay. I don't know if the line concerning folks with felony and all of that, I don't know if anybody want to respond to that, but if not, I would like to move to if you want to respond to that's fine. If not, let's go to I want Tony to take this question here. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
If you look at item number 5, that's very important. That's a very significant change to the legislation.
Good.
Please, want to talk about that because we have a lot of members of the immigrant community that do not have a valid social security number. And so most of them are using the I-10. So the I-10 basically is an individual tax identification number for people that live in the U.S. that are not legal residents. So if you do not have a green card, you do not have a social security number, you can apply for an I-10 number just so you can file your taxes. So the I-10 does not replace a social security number, but it allows anyone doing business in the U.S. to be able to file their tax returns to report whatever income they make to the government and pay their taxes. So with the previous legislation, people with I-10s were not qualified. They were not eligible to get any loans from SBA. I remember I filed an application for someone who has an I-10. Now the application came back rejected. This is about when this thing just came out. Simply because they were not a resident of the U.S., nor were they a U.S. citizen. Because one of the questions on the application is, are you a U.S. citizen? So now they're eliminating that clause, which is really good because the thing is, if you're doing business in the U.S., regardless of the fact that you are legal or not, you're contributing to the general good of the economy. You're a small business, so you should be eligible to get the assistance just like anyone else. So that's a very significant change that affects our community because Americans do not use I-10s. So this is for the immigrant community to know. So if you applied for the SBA loan in the past and was disqualified because of your eligibility as a matter of you not having a social security number but an I-10, you should reapply now using your I-10 and you should get some money. So that's really huge.
Wow.
And
That's
again, for some immigrants who have kids, this doesn't have anything to do with the stimulus, but for immigrants who have I-10 numbers and have dependent kids that were born in the U.S. Now, if you file a tax return using an I-10 in the past, you will not qualify or be eligible for the earned income tax credit because you're filing with an I-10. But there's a new legislation right now that allows I-10 owners or filers to claim their dependent kids and get the earned income credit if they are eligible based on the income. So that's another very useful information for the immigrant community.
Very, very, very useful. And for those who have not received their new stimulus check, how do they go about it? Call IRS or claim it on their taxes?
You don't have to call the IRS. When you file your tax return, the IRS automatically gives you a credit for the stimulus for 2020 and that of 2021. Okay, because there was one that came out in 2020 and another one that came out in January, right? So most folks who haven't received it automatically receive that when they file their return. So when you start the process of filing your return, the IRS gives you a credit automatically. They give you a credit for last year's stimulus and current year's stimulus. Now they're going to ask you a question. Did you receive the stimulus for last year? Once you answer that question, and the question is positive, they take back the credit, meaning that you've already received it, so they're not going to give it to you twice. Otherwise, you'll be double dipping. Then you go to the second question for the stimulus of 2021. If you haven't received it, then you're going to check, no, I haven't received it. There's a box for you to check. Once you check on that box, the credit stays on your return and it's going to be added to your refund. Now, if you're not getting a refund and you were supposed to be paying taxes, that might be used to offset your tax liability. So equal, it's still giving you money. That's imputed income, right? Because they're paying your taxes. So yeah, if you did not receive the stimulus, you should be getting it when you file your tax returns. Absolutely.
Great. Ton of information. Anthony, somebody receives their stimulus check. They have about 600 or 1,000 sitting down. They've never thought of life insurance before. Okay, a man and woman, single, it doesn't matter, young, old, it doesn't matter. Should this be the time that they say, you know what, maybe I should look at life insurance? But first of all, why is life insurance so important? And can life insurance, is it one of the reasons why some communities are able to generate a lot of wealth and actually even increase their generational wealth as well? Loaded question, but I want you to, I know this is your area, so I want you to take it all in and then give us some education.
Yep. Great question. First of all, we cannot, shortchange the importance of life insurance. Why? Because we only have one life, right? And that is so important. And when you get life insurance, you're protecting yourself, but what you're really doing is you're protecting the people that, unfortunately, if God forbid something happens to you, you'll be leaving behind, which is very, very important. Right? We live in an environment where we all understand insurance. What is it? Insurance is all about spreading the risk, right? So it doesn't matter how successful you are. It's always good to spread your risk. And we do that. We all understand that, right? Now, most people, you buy a cell phone, you buy insurance. Why? Because just in case it falls down and break, you're not planning on breaking your phone,
right?
But anything can happen.
Exactly.
Likewise, you do that for your car, right? And a lot of things that we do in terms of insurance, we do it because we are mandated to do it. It's funny how when the government mandates things, we do it, but yet we don't choose to do the right things for ourselves. When it comes to life insurance, think about it. You have protected that brand new TV that you bought. How much is it worth? 500, 600. Now TVs are very cheap now, $500, $600, and you can get a pretty big screen TV. You've paid extra warranty for that TV, but your life, that which takes and makes everything else possible, you don't deem it valuable enough to protect it and secure it. And that's what you're doing when you get in life insurance. You're doing it for yourself and you're doing it for the people you leave behind. Why is that? Think about it. We live in a dynamic right now where most people, it takes 2 incomes to run a household, and even then they're struggling. Now, that family structure, whether if you're the main breadwinner or you're a supporter of the, even if you're not the main breadwinner, but if you are somebody that provides for that family, what you need to know is that they need you today, they're going to need you tomorrow. Unfortunately, we don't know what tomorrow brings. So what we do with life insurance is that we're protecting the risk. We have a lot of risk, to take care of a family. If you have a child and to raise that child to the age of 18, we're talking lots of money over that period of time. If you add in education and everything, thousands and thousands of dollars. And depending on the standard of living that you've created for your family, it could be hundreds of thousands. And one of the saddest things that happens is that when somebody passes in the family, you can see the trajectory of the family goes the wrong course. Why? Because there were no structures in place to ensure that there's still money coming in even when you're gone. So what you do with life insurance, for example, is that most people don't know that they can protect their income. You can insure your income. It's not only left to celebrities and movie stars or singers and all of those to insure what they consider an asset. You can insure your income, your ability to perform. Now, life insurance in itself also there are 2 main distinct types of life insurance. right? We have what we call death insurance and what we call life insurance, right? Meaning death insurance is what most people are cognizant of, right? Nothing happens until you die, and this is where the selfish nature of us kicks in. If we're thinking, why should I pay for something that I would not see a benefit? Because we're thinking selfishly, But if you really think about it, it's for the people that are left behind. Meaning, if you truly love your family, if you truly care for them, and you're the one that is responsible for making sure that the upkeep is well in place, my goodness, how could you go to sleep at night not protected? The minute COVID came around, what did we all started to do? We started wearing masks. We started using gloves. We're doing the things to protect ourselves. And the question was, do we get life insurance now? Now is even the most urgent time to get life insurance. Why? Because in the past, we used to tell people tomorrow's not promised, and sometimes people would shrug it off. Young people, people would shrug it off.
Yeah.
But now we truly live in an era where nobody knows tomorrow. A trip to the grocery store just to buy bread can be a fatal trip. And that's the environment that we live in. So you want to protect yourself. Guess what? Even if you recover from COVID, you could be in a situation where you now have pre-existing condition, right? People that are recovering are still living with long-term issues that we are still learning about. And if you contract a disease and now you go back looking for insurance, guess what? It may not be that easy. So you want to get insurance now. Your life is not a commodity that you can sit there and wait and come back and say, oh, let me think about it. No, you as an individual, your life every second, right? If we were to put you on a risk pool, every second you're getting more and more riskier to insure. So you want to make that decision and do it immediately, right? And also know that, hey, if you're not just looking for death insurance, you can also get insurance that have living benefits. You don't have to wait till you die. There are insurance that you benefit while you're alive. What is that? You got people who have issues with terminal, critical, or chronic illnesses that can kick in. Guess what? We have products that are term products. They have what we call living benefits. You get diagnosed above and beyond what your health insurance will cover. These products will kick in to ensure that you can pay for the medical expenses that come along. Again, not everybody is used to or understand these things, because we have a mindset about life insurance, which has always been on the death side of things, that it's not the same exchange. I even told you about products that allows you to use it as a retirement supplement, to supplement your retirement plan based on all the tax shelters that it gives you, the growth that it gives you, and all the other protections that it offers you. So there's more to life insurance. And really, again, what you're doing is you're protecting the people you leave behind. And what do we do in our community? I talk about in some of my presentations, I talk about what we call the 83rd and Ellis model versus private care. What do I mean by that? The 83rd and Ellis model that we are used to in our community is what? It's more of a SUSU model, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's contributing, and then one day it's your turn, we'll contribute. So
Yeah.
guess what? SUSU is not scalable. You cannot scale SUSU, okay? It's good to use the SUSU model when there's 10 of you, 5 of you. Now our community, somebody once said, I think in the Illinois area or Chicagoland area, there's roughly around 30,000 Ghanaians.
Yeah.
There's Ghanaians. Now we cannot use the SUSU model for 30,000 people. And that's what we're seeing. COVID has exposed it. Now, you may have been contributing to the 83rd and Ellis model for 10, 15, 20 years since you've been in this country. Now we're doing funerals by Zelle and Cash App. You're not getting the same amount of people to contribute. You see?
Yeah.
The 83rd and Ellis model is not inflation proof. People are still giving the same $50 that they've been giving for a long time. It doesn't keep up with inflation. So what happens is that what we need to help people understand is that 50, that 100, that 200 that you were spending every single month putting into a system that is not guaranteed. Who knows? Maybe the person that you supported, by the time it's your turn, now you are not on good terms and they're not even going to show up. Maybe they've moved to another country or they also have expired. So you relied on people coming together to basically bury you and leave nothing for your family. How sad, you know? And meanwhile, those same resources that you were contributing to the 83rd and Ellis model could have got you something called private care. And now you know for a fact that something happens to you, there's maybe 50,000, 100,000, $500,000 or $1 million left as an inheritance for your family, right? A whole different picture. People, we have a tendency to want to do good and leave an inheritance and leave something to our children. Sometimes we take the wrong approach. I know people that are struggling with mortgages because they think, oh, they're going to leave a house for their children. But they refi all throughout their life. By the time they're gone, they left a mortgage. Your kids cannot take over your mortgage. You didn't leave them anything. If somebody leaves you a mortgage, what did they give you? Nothing.
Right. Nothing.
They just gave you a debt. There's no value to you. And if you can't keep up that debt, you lose it. So what we tell people is that you're working hard. Let's work smart, right? A small amount invested in an insurance product to cover you. God forbid something happens to you. In fact, you can get a term policy that is there just to cover your mortgage. So if you have a $200,000 mortgage, outstanding mortgage, doesn't it make sense to at least have a $200,000 term policy? That will probably cost you maybe $15 to $20 a month, depending on your age and your health, right? Or, you know, depending. Yeah. And have that be there so that God forbid something happens to you, a check is cut to your family. They can pay the mortgage. They can pay other things. If you have kids, plan for college and all those things because you invested and you plan wisely. Okay. So there are many, many, many uses and benefits of life insurance. In fact, if you know, the tax professional is here, but I'll venture to say that within the tax code is probably where you get the most generous tax break. There are only a few avenues in this system where you can grow money, save it, access it tax-free. Your other options are a Roth IRA, which you have limitations. You can only put in so much. Now, if you're a high net income earner, and you're trying to save serious money for your retirement, what that means is that, or save serious money for, you know, for the future, you can't even leverage the Roth IRA. It's too small. The contribution limits are too small for people that have certain income brackets. Right. You can't even leverage your 401k, okay? Because the structure, the limits on there doesn't allow you to save that level of income. So you can see that the plan was already designed. Some of these things were designed for what? Middle America. And one thing that I've learned is that anything that's generally designed for Middle America, stay away from it. Okay? Because it's not going to give you all the benefits that you can ascertain from the tax code. And that's what we're learning here. That's, you know, by choosing and structuring things a little bit different. Okay. So life insurance has so many benefits that you don't have to wait till you're old. A lot of times people wait till they're too old. In fact, we're setting it up for babies now. We have products we call them $1 million babies, where instead of setting up 529 college plans, we're setting up these kids with index universal life right when they're young. Allows them to compound their money into the account. They also get a death benefit. At a certain point, we can add long-term care. You know what long-term care is? Long-term care is when you're not able to perform 2 or more daily functions. Now, this is something that it's impacting 75% of the people that are going to be 65 and older. So 3 out of 4 of people are going to need long-term care. Already, we know that. That's what the numbers proven. Now, if 3 out of 4 people are going to need long-term care, are you saving for long-term care? Can you even save for long-term care? I don't care how much money you save in your 401k or whatever other retirement vehicle you lose. If you don't have long-term care coverage, one illness can wipe away everything that you've worked so hard for. So why take on all that risk?
Right.
You know,
think that,
diversify your risk. And then the last part I wanted to add was the generational part.
okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's think about it in most communities, even in the African American community. We hear all the time there's a shooting, 2 people died, 5 people died, this, that, and everything. And we're wondering, why are these communities hurting? Why can't we save these communities? Just ask yourself, if there was a $250,000 or $500,000 bounty on every head on the south side or the west side of Chicago, you think all these people will be dropping like flies? No, because every time somebody drops, $500,000 has to go in that community. 250,000 has to go in that community. And if we're pumping $500,000, $1 million, 250,000, 100,000, 50,000 into these communities, over time, these communities will change. Number one. Number two, the powers to be will make sure that these communities are safe.
Because they do have life insurance.
Because they have life insurance.
Mm.
So what can we do? We all know in the next 20 to 30 years, there's going to be a lot of changes. In fact, the biggest population in the US right now is the baby boomers. There's roughly around 78 to 80 million of them. Every day, 8 to 10,000 of them are reaching the retirement age. Okay, so all of them are retiring. All of us are all aging. So we know that death is inevitable, right? In the next 25 years or so, if we can start to get everybody insured, get everybody protected, right? Based on their needs and their insurable needs, guess what? As tragedies happen, some of the returns that comes to these families will sustain them. Because what happens in our community, the reason why our funerals and our tragedies last for so long, think about it. The emotional part kicks in when something bad happens, and then the financial and the economic side kicks in. And now people are really wailing, right? How do we fix that? And I believe that the current model that we've been using of everybody pitching in here and there, as good as it is, it's only fine for a small group.
Right.
You know, we shouldn't be having big tables with paper and everything at a funeral. That's not the point. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
It's become more of a fundraising event. You know,
I completely agree with you on that, and all the things that you said, most of the things you said, you know, I agree with you. That old model, and to those who are listening who may not understand, is a jargon that he used, 83rd and Ellis model. Basically, it's a place where Ghanaians would hold their the funeral services, right? If anybody passed in the Ghanaian community, it's the number one popular place that has been used by the Ghanaian community for decades, right? And yes, you're right. You know, after every ceremony, during this, funeral services, people would go around and would have to contribute. But like you said, imagine if, we all bought into this life insurance thing. And something that you said that was profound is that we buy insurance for our phones. We insure our TVs. Like we're paying $20. So imagine you're paying $20 for your phone just so you can keep your phone from, breaking, and so you can get a new one. And you pay that every month. So imagine if you're putting that $20 into a life insurance for yourself, or, for, your family member or whatever. I think that, so thank you for breaking down like that. I think it sinks, and we really appreciate it. Somebody is saying that just for fun. Okay, let me read this. She says, just for fun, I think this is a genuine concern, right? Yeah. People think that, well, if my family members know that I have life insurance, then there's a tendency for them to want me dead quickly so that they can benefit off of that. How do we navigate through the thinking quickly because of our time?
Yeah. No, that's an excellent point. In fact, I come across that all the time, even within couples. Husband is thinking one way, wife is thinking one way.
Are you going to take me out?
Yeah, we come across it all the time. Right. Really, I think that's one of those things that it's an individual decision, right? And you got to look at yourself and your benefit to your family, right? And say that, hey, if you're a provider and somebody they need. And the providing is not just the one that goes to work, right? The one that's also at home, perhaps taking care of the kids also, that's a provider, right? Because if that person is gone, now you have to go pay daycare.
Right.
So I think it benefits everybody. And really what you're doing is you're doing something for your family. Okay.
Right.
And if you love them and you want them things to be right for them, you have to take that decision. Nobody can pray to die. Those things it's all in our minds. Okay.
It's all in our minds. Now the reality too is that is it also a good strategy to keep things separate? So let's say a husband, keep things husband and wife. You know that you have to get life insurance. So you both go to a company. You come to Anthony AMPONSAH, hey, help me get life insurance. But you keep whatever policy you have separate from each other, right? So that issue of that apprehension, right, is taken away to encourage people to go into, to do it, because there is that suspicion. I mean, there's that, among us. And so I think that would that be a good strategy? Just keep it away from each other. Do it anyway, but don't tell each other what you got.
I would say that if that has to be the reason why you get it, then do it. Right?
Then do it. Yeah, okay.
I'll much rather you do that than do nothing. But
exactly.
It's really sad when, as a couple, that is the issue, right?
Yeah.
that you don't trust in each other to that extent. But if I would say that to forego not having anything, get it anyway, and then perhaps keep the documents. Your agent will be there to help if something happens.
Good. And if you feel like you can trust your family members, your cousins, even your children, if you think that, look, I can't trust them, keep it away from them, right? Go get it anyway. Exactly. But if there's anything that is preventing you, a suspicion of anybody harming you because you know you have a life insurance, just get it and keep it away from everybody. But at least you have it. And again, attorney or your agent, can keep this. But it's necessary. It's gotten. Maybe you should do it without anybody's knowledge. Well, yeah. She's just saying the same thing. Sign some legal documents and get it. So again, if it comes to it, if this is what we have to do as a community to get this going, and like for me, I think generational wealth is something very, very important, right? How do our community, and we know that other communities have enhanced or have contributed to the generational wealth due to life insurance, right? $1 million is passed, like you said. The analogy you gave was very, very powerful. No one has to know the contents of your will. This is from Dr. Portia Claudine Mascacchio. She passed a comment earlier. I think she passed a comment. She says, yes, the idea to leave a will, not a bill. The idea is to leave a will, not a bill. What will your legacy? What will your legacy be? Thank you so much for contributing. And I think we read this comment. Well, great information, says Priscilla Thomas. Know you are all been watching, and thank you all for your comments. Well, time is up. It's 2 minutes past, but we can leave without getting. Wilson hasn't. We need to get your last words. So Wilson, again, it's a tax season. Your last words. If there's anything that you wanted to contribute that I missed because of time, please go ahead and say it. And also, infuse your advice to the community and how we can leverage the tax code system and our businesses in order for us to, position ourselves in a way that we can benefit off of money, make more money. It's about money, so help us with that, Wilson, as we bring this conversation to an end.
Well, thanks for that. In a nutshell, though, you got to understand your environment. Okay, we live in a capitalist society, and living in a capitalist society means business is the foundation. America is built upon business. If you want to succeed in America, one of the things you need to think about doing is starting a business of your own, whatever kind of business you're passionate about. And when you start a business, that's not enough. Follow the rules. For example, when COVID hit, most small businesses were being subsidized by SBA. Now, companies that were not properly structured did not take advantage of all the funding that was going around. For instance, we talked about paying yourself. Set up payroll. If any company had payroll when COVID hit, they were supposed to get the PPP. Now, most companies did not benefit because they were badly structured. They had a corporation, but they were running it as a sole proprietorship. Now, another thing to take in mind is that living in a capitalist environment, even in a socialist environment, if you want to be financially successful, because we're talking about the bottom line, right? Which is you got to have multiple streams of income. One stream of income doesn't cut it. You know, it doesn't matter how small the business is. If you have one extra dollar after paying all your bills, that's positive cash flow. The key is for you to have positive cash flow. Number three, it's always good to use the bank's money to do business. Take a risk with the bank's money, because that's what the bank is doing. Like Anthony rightly said in the beginning of the presentation, the banks are taking your money and lending them out to people. Now, imagine how much the bank makes from lending your money out to other people. Now, how much are they giving you back in terms of interest? They're not giving you anything more than a percentage. Inflation is eating up into your money. And number four, savings is old-fashioned, okay? Putting money in a savings account in the bank is equally putting it under a mattress. There's no difference between having money under a mattress and a savings account. There's actually no difference. The only difference is money in a bank account is safer, okay? It can be robbed easily. And if it gets robbed, then FDIC is going to cover you up to $250,000. That's it. Otherwise, there's no need putting money in the bank when you keep it in your house. So for safety's sake, you can have your money in your savings, but it's not advisable to be cash rich without having investments, because for you to multiply and grow wealth, you have to invest money in different types of vehicles. It could be real estate, it could be stocks, it could be mutual funds, it could be bonds, like Anthony said. There are all these vehicles available to you. Now, it depends on how risk averse or how risk indifferent you are. So you determine the type of investment based on your willingness to take a risk. Because remember, the highest rate of return is obtained from the most risky type of investments. So the higher your risk, the higher the return, the rate of return. Now, the smaller the risk, the smaller the rate of return. So all of those things have to be taken into consideration. But again, life is a risk. Okay, if you don't risk anything, you won't get anything. So the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. It's all about risk and reward. So if you want to make it big, you got to be ready to take the hit. So there's so much to talk about, and I think we have a time constraint. We are on the time constraint, so we can't about everything in one shot. But we have, I think you should, our phone numbers should be posted or listed on your
That is what I was going to say. Go ahead and give out your information. Yes.
Yeah, my office phone number is 773-274-3627. 773-274-3627. My cell phone is 773-742-9262. 773-742-9262. I'm open to talk to anyone at any time. I do not charge for my time because my time is not a commodity. I'm willing to provide you with as much information as possible, as long as that's going to help you. That's what I'm about. I'm trying to help my community. The more information you have, the better you are in this community. Information is power
in this country. Thank you.
Power. So thanks for having me on the show. Thanks for meeting Anthony. Hopefully we'll be talking to see if we could do some cross referrals, because I think I have a lot of people that might need your help. I wish they'll listen to what you say today and take that into serious consideration, because life insurance is a key. You cannot grow wealth without having life insurance. It's one of the components of growing wealth. Life insurance is a very key component. If you don't have that in your wealth growth formula, then your formula is a failing formula. Okay, so I wish people listening to this show can take that in mind. So again, thank you.
Wow, thank you. Eunice says exactly, more than one source of income. And then she also goes to say, go rich if you fear debt. Take money, sorry.
Take that money from the bank and invest in a scalable business. That's the smartest thing you could do, man. Because remember, before we go, let me tell you something before we go. If you are taking money from the bank as an entity, that's one of the advantages of having a company, right? You're lending money from the bank as an entity. If you lose the money in the business, you can file for bankruptcy. That's not going to affect your personal assets. So that's a shield right there. But if you take that money as you, right, in your name, of course, you're going to end up paying, right? If you don't pay, Your credit is damaged.
Let me put your number. Let me put your number on the screen. Somebody's asking. What's the number again?
773
Okay.
274 3627. That's the office phone number.
Wait, 2334.
No, 773
Uh-huh.
274
Okay.
3627. Direct office line. That's the office line.
I think I had a break. 2627.
773 274 3627.
Okay, 3627. That's the office line. And
So-
let me do this 1 second. Since I'm the producer and host at the same time, I'll try to get everything going. But yeah, cell number
773
uh-huh.
742
742
9262.
Okay, 9262. Okay. Okay, for Wilson, and okay, we will take Anthony's information to Anthony. Okay, go ahead and give us your information, Anthony.
Okay. Just the information or final words?
Well, yeah. Give out your final words and then add your contact information.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Progressive Mind, for hosting us and giving us the opportunity to share and add value tonight. And I've been grateful listening to my co-panelists also, and so much has been shared. And honestly, knowledge is the new form of currency, right? And that is key. So you tuning in today was actually the first step in the right direction that one needs to take, and that is by gaining the information. And getting that information, now the next step is what? Applying that information, right? You've learned how to set up a business and all those things. You've learned the importance of investment, insurance, and all those things. Take the next step, which is make a decision and act on it, right? You can connect with us. You can connect and reach us at Freeport Financial Group, either on our 800 number, 800-229-0662. Or you can also reach me on my personal cell, which is 309-530-4004.
Okay, can you take the 800 number again?
Yes, the 800 number is 800-229-0662. And
0662.
And then also the direct line is 309-530-4004.
Okay, so I'm sorry, 309-530-4004. Okay. So we got this 4004. That is for Sal, and that's for Anthony. Wow. Okay. So we have had a very, very successful show this evening. I want to thank all the comments that have come through, folks who have joined us on Facebook and on YouTube. Again, I need to change my phone because I try to monitor if the comments and folks who have joined us, so I can identify me. I can let me see here. Hold on 1 second. I'm getting this. Okay, so that I can acknowledge you all appropriately, but sometimes I'm not able to see everybody. It's only folks who comment, and when you say something, that's when I see you. But I know there are people watching too. For some reason, I'm not able to see that. I used to be able to see everyone, but it's not working for me right now. We will fix it. Okay, we're working on that. So please bear with me if I'm not able to acknowledge you, even though you've been watching on Facebook and on the YouTube channel. Again, big thank you to everyone that have contributed to our audience. Mrs. AMPONSAH, you were our _1 fan today. Rebecca Mode, Eunice, you were awesome. Eunice Sako, Ayuk, you were awesome. Dr. Portia, you also joined. Johnny Woods is here. Simon Ogedo says, great job, thank you so much. Oh, Simon, watch out for Simon. We're going to be having a show together on Saturday. It's called Africa This Week. It's coming up. Okay, a lot of interesting things are coming up. Sunday too, we're going to be having a show, so watch out for the new developments with the Progressive Minds. We're partnering with a lot of folks within our community. We are glad and we are humbled that we can always call on folks like you, Anthony and Wilson, great professionals who are doing extremely great work in our communities, trying to help our folks to, come up to the limelight, to take advantage of the system and be better. And so we really appreciate your time on this show. Great show, Progressive Minds. Thank you so much. Johnny Woods is here. Let me not leave without acknowledging Johnny Woods. He's always here. One of my top supporters and fans of Progressive Minds. Always appreciate Johnny Woods. Another great show, good information. Thank you so much, Johnny Woods. We do this because of people like you and people like Priscilla Thomas. Great information. Thank you. Now, on that note, the Progressive Minds show has to come to an end. We've gone 40 minutes past our time. This is why we need to have our own platform, right? So that we are not restricted, so we can keep the discussions going. But anyhow, we have to end it. I am going to be calling these guys personally. I have already called them, but some things have stalled my progress with them. But I'm working hard. I will do it. It's going to happen. And they are great individuals, okay? Great family folks, great individuals. So feel free to share your problems with them. They will be more than happy to help you. We shall be having them again. This is just the beginning. We shall be having them on this platform and maybe other platforms. Once again, remember, to whom much is given, much is required. This has been your favorite boy, Senna, aka Alinko, and we shall be here next week Wednesday, right? Next week Wednesday, 6 to 8 p.m. To God be the glory. We shall see you again. Bye-bye, guys. Wilson, talk to you, Tony. Have a good evening.